for our third session on our third day at Caffe Lena for our 2022 Dr. King Celebration Weekend. Thank you. My name is Jocelyn Corey. I am the chair of this year, our 7th year of the Dr. King Challenge. And I'd like to present to you today a classical guitarist from Puerto Rico, living now in Amsterdam, Julio Rodriguez. He has played many venues, including Proctor's. He has graciously wanted to agree to play for us today, and we are so honored to have him here. We want to thank our host, Caffe Lena, for graciously having us here today. We want to thank our sponsors that have made this weekend possible, Price Chopper, Market 32, and Skidmore College. Thank you. We are going to be weaving some music in with some community conversations from local organizations around Saratoga. So stay tuned. We'll be going a little bit over, but it's going to be so worth it. Thank you so much. Check out my t-shirt. It says the quote for this year: I have decided to stick with love. We do have it available on our website. And welcome to our live stream portion of our Dr. King Celebration Weekend. Julio, thank you.
You're very welcome. Oh, let us go, King. The sun's come marching in.
And I'll have a chance to do a little editing too. So I can actually grab your logo later and we'll put it in.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, well, welcome, Laura. I'm delighted to have you be a part of this afternoon's conversation, and wanted to welcome you and Camp Stomping Ground to Saratoga Springs. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us, Leslie. That's wonderful.
So Camp Stomping Grounds is this amazing new place that is right down Middle Grove Road and has been such a delight to discover. How did you and how did Camp Stomping Ground get to Saratoga Springs?
So the program itself was started in 2015, and we rented property just outside of Binghamton, New York, for about the first 5 years that we ran camp. And in 2020, we found the camp on Boyhaven Road, and we went up to see it. And my co-founder Jack and I were just like astounded by the beauty of the place and the connection to the community and its location. And we thought, boy, this is the dream. Like, this is everything we've been hoping for in terms of how to really launch the program and have it have a permanent home. And then the pandemic hit. And so it was pretty wild. But we actually ended up going through with it. Wouldn't recommend purchasing a property that needs a lot of help and renovation right at the beginning of in March of 2020. But there was some silver linings in there as well. We weren't able to run camp in 2020 during that summer, but we had volunteers and staff come through, and we renovated the property. And then this past summer, 2021, we ran our first summer program at the new site, and it was wonderful. A real dream come true.
It's quite the trajectory. Tell us about your program, because this is not just your typical camp for kids.
Yes, so our mission is to inspire the next generation of radically empathetic decision makers. And what we
Yes.
believe is that kids really, and everybody really, learns best how to make decisions by making them rather than always by following directions.
Mhm.
And so in our space, we try and give kids as much autonomy and as much control over the schedule of the day, kind of who they hang out with, and how they design their own experience within camp. The reason camp is called Stomping Ground is the idea that every kid needs a place, a stomping ground, to go out and be in the like old neighborhood, to be outside with friends until the streetlights come on, and have some of that unstructured play and freedom that our culture today, I think, is missing. So that was the original idea behind Stomping Ground. How can we give kids this freedom and this autonomy and this ability to kind of learn how to make decisions by making them? But the real crux of our program, and where we come to radically empathetic decision makers, is that in any community, and camp for sure, there is inherent conflict in how we interact with each other. And so at Stomping Ground, instead of shying away from conflict or being ashamed by the conflict that we experience with other people when there's a disconnect, we lean into it, and we try and see conflict as an opportunity for connection and innovation. And we employ some restorative practices and restorative justice techniques to sort stuff out. And that's where a lot of the programming and a lot of the curriculum comes from.
Really rich way of helping to nurture and cultivate this next generation. They're needing it. Am I remembering that the genesis of all of this really was came out of a need that you saw in the Rochester area? Is that where it started?
We are very connected to the Rochester community. A lot of our current staff, some of our year-round team, and Jack and I are both from Rochester originally. We have some pretty solid partnerships with the Rochester City School District. We have kids who have come through the program for its entire existence. But one of our really big focuses over last year and now this year is to try and connect with the local community here in Saratoga, and how to build some of those same partnerships with community organizations and the school districts in the capital region.
How's that going? And nothing
It's
like
wonderful.
coming into a new area in the middle of a pandemic.
Yes. Yes. It was a bit of a slow start. I will be honest. I think, like, everybody being kind of isolated and disconnected and afraid to interact for that year and a half. We're just now starting to really sink our teeth into like what we can maybe provide or how we can connect with other community organizations. But I feel so lucky at the same time, like the place that we're in right now, or it feels so serendipitous to be connected with MLK Saratoga, Create Studios, Scene, BLM Saratoga, the Franklin Community Center, Big Brothers Big Sisters of Albany. We've got all these kind of community organizations and partnerships coming together, not only to send kids to camp during the summer, but also to organize events and things for the rest of the year.
Wow, that's exciting. And I'm thrilled to hear all this bridging that's happening for you. I'll share with the audience that Camp Stomping Ground invited MLK Saratoga to show up at an autumn festival. We didn't even know that you were here, and it was like walking into another world, and I've got the hair up on my arm. It was just a very exciting and gratifying reflection of what is happening out in the world, and that there's these changes that are happening, and the next wave of leadership coming up and creating space, holding place, building internal infrastructure, as well as the external. So this last summer, you had a pretty full crowd, and you had kids that came from that were here from Philadelphia and
Yeah,
New York and
we have
Rochester.
about 100 kids at camp at a time. We're looking to grow our capacity a little bit. This summer we'll have a few more in our teen programs, but yeah, 100, 150 kids at a time at camp. And then they stay for 2 weeks at a time. Most of our kids come from, again, the capital region around this area, also New York City, Philly, up and down the East Coast, Boston. We have some kids that come from Boston. And then there's a handful of kids who have either moved out of town or have cousins out of town who bring them in. So we have a smattering of kids from all over the country, and actually all over the world too, who come in just for camp.
My goodness. Wow, that is exciting. Laura, where do you see the next steps for you? Where are you going with this?
Yeah, I think that now that we have this property, it's such an awesome asset to be able to dream with and about. I think that people who come onto camp, kind of like you were describing, you just kind of feel like, wow, more is possible in this cool space, and being so close to the Saratoga community and the Middle Grove community. But I think over the next few years, we're hoping to continue to renovate the property and rebuild some of the infrastructure that's there. There's a gorgeous 1830s farmhouse right at the beginning of camp, and we're currently talking with some architects and engineers, and hoping to gather some community support to rebuild that building, as well as build maybe a day camp program in the future, or some other things to really connect with the folks here in town.
I did get a peek at your dining hall. Is it called anyway? It just light filled, and the colors are fresh and vibrant everywhere, and it is an extraordinary piece of property. Really a gift, particularly for young people who don't get to stomp on the ground, literally, to really feel their connection. It's pretty powerful. Pretty powerful.
It's pretty awesome how kids come into the space too, and just really find some ownership in there. This is their home. This is the thing that they get to come back to. It's their stomping ground, and I think that that's pretty special to be able to give kids.
Do community people have a way to support you or show up and volunteer? You've got a gorgeous website. That just curious, how can we help send people your way?
Oh man, we have 3 volunteer weekends coming up this spring, and would love some folks to come out. It's going to be all kinds of things, from clearing trails around camp to doing some like basic carpentry work, painting things. Organizing things, getting ready for the summer. So we can always use help on those volunteer weekends. If you're interested in coming to camp to volunteer, shoot me an email, or head to our website. My email is laura@campstompingground.org. The other thing, two more ways to kind of help out. One is we're always looking for supplies and materials, whether that be maybe old costumes that you have lying around. We do a lot of imaginative play with costumes and pretend play. And like just materials and things. So like old arts and crafts supplies, old paint, wood that is just sitting in your garage, tools, things like that. We're always looking for people to kind of donate goods as well. And then the last thing is if you have, or if you know anybody who's interested in helping to kind of push us into the future, whether that be helping us to renovate the White House, or visioning with us, dreaming with us about what future villages will look like on property, or the day camp program, I'd love to talk to you more about what that looks like.
Lots of entree points for us to welcome Camp Stomping Grounds to Saratoga Springs. I am personally really delighted you are here, and really excited to see what's next on your journey, and make sure you keep us in the loop. We could figure out how to add your volunteer days onto our calendar so that we can share that. Thank you, Laura. We wish you an extraordinary new year, bringing lots of this great new young energy up here, and our new leaders, for the coming years. We need them. We need their voices. We need yours. Thank you very much, and best wishes in all that you do.
Thank you.
To be continued.
Thank you.
Hello, Lynn. Thank you for joining us today. Lynn Trisna is the executive director of Pitney Meadows Community Farm, and we've invited her here today to talk about what's going on down on the farm and the myriad of ways Pitney's mission and goals and efforts have changed the lives of Saratoga's communities and are making a difference in our communities' daily lives. So welcome, Lynn. Glad to have you. Happy New Year. I'd love to fill us in on some of the changes at Pitney under COVID. Has been a little bit of a reboot for everyone.
Yeah, sure. So COVID, as stressful as it was for everybody, was actually a great opportunity for Pitney Meadows to open up to new projects, new partnerships, and also the realization of how we fit into COVID, of a safe gathering space, which was huge for the community this year. I think people were very starved for human connection, and our community garden, our trails network, our events were all outdoors, which sometimes is a little bit tricky with the weather, but I think people were very willing to come out in all weather just to see other people and meet a new person. I think those simple interactions were just, people were starved for it. And it was really great that, with COVID, we've really embraced the importance of an open field and what an open field can do for the community of just gathering, no matter how complex our events were, just having an open field. We were there. That I think was a really big part of COVID, is having safe space, but also, as we got darker and our community felt a little bit smaller, we realized we could also feed our community. So there was a pivot when, in 2020, when things got pretty scary in March and April, and we had to cancel our events, cancel our education. We saw that feeding our community was really what we wanted to dive into and focus more on. So we went from donating 6,000 pounds of produce in 2019 to over 23,000 pounds of produce in 2020. And this year we donated almost 22,000 pounds of produce. And during 2020, we saw it as just a need. And so we worked with the food bank of the capital region and just got food onto the truck to be distributed. And then in thinking about how to increase our impact with the same amount of produce, we introduced pop-up markets. Just because calling back to the need for community interaction and meeting new faces, we saw the value of having a personal interaction when distributing food equal to the food itself.
Oh, and that's interesting. Creating relationship around food. How does a pop-up market happen?
So we have amazing community partners, and that was one way it was able to happen. So, rather than support organizations that are already supported by the food bank, we made a bunch of phone calls over the winter and identified communities that weren't being served due to the lack of a pantry or refrigeration at a pantry. So bringing the fresh produce to the community and having a market style pickup where it didn't matter if there's no refrigeration, but also having that interaction with another person to encourage you to try new kinds of produce, tell you about a recipe that worked really well for them. I think that creates a more successful path forward for people to try new produce and have a healthier diet. But also at Pitney Meadows, it was really important that every single person that received our produce was treated like a valuable customer, regardless of whether you paid for it or you didn't pay for it. So we offered free cooking classes as well to kind of bring everyone together. So people who frequented our pop-up markets, people that went to pantries, community gardeners, CSA members, everyone could come together and learn about cooking new vegetables, because that's one thing I really noticed is everyone is kind of on the same playing field at Pitney Meadows of kind of like a pace of wonder. Like everyone is, it doesn't matter if you're a lawyer, it doesn't matter if you've experienced homelessness, like everyone's coming together and stoked to see a sunflower or stoked to grow their own produce. So I think it was a really great opportunity to bring people together and build community in addition to distributing produce, because the needs of the community are very complex, and sometimes just saying hello to another person can help address a lot of issues.
It is I don't know if you haven't been out to speaking to the audience, if you haven't been out to Pitney Meadows Community Farm, it is magical being there. And some of the moments that I think back on over the last couple of years is going out just to watch a sunset, at just stopping to watch a sunset across this big open field. And it becomes, talk about creating space, safe space to find common ground with other people. And we all share food and share food in different ways. I think there's really richness in that. And I'm really moved to hear you talking about the interrelationship and building these relationships. And that becomes a vehicle for expanding people's awareness of health and food and recipes. And you're also clearly reaching into areas that we know are referred to as food deserts, where things don't reach certain sections of our populations in our cities. So you're building bridges. I'm hearing that you're building bridges.
Rural food insecurity is a very hard thing to address. And getting out there and coordinating and finding folks.
Tell me a little more about that. I think about food insecurity. This is really interesting. In my mind, I know about like the inner city or city food deserts where people can't get to markets and things. You're talking about rural food insecurity. How is that reflected here in Saratoga?
So it's really outside of Saratoga Springs and some of the neighboring areas of, we went to Providence, we went to the town of Day, we went to Edinburgh, and some places that you don't think about as facing food insecurity. But there's definitely folks out there. And, the first time we were at the pop-up markets, we definitely had people come, but it was through word of mouth that we had more folks come. So as we did the markets over July through October, and as the markets progressed, more family members and friends had found out about the market and started attending. So we would put out flyers, but there's not the same concentrated gathering community centers. So it's hard to let people know what you're doing. So it was a huge educational piece and just going out to the communities and talking to people, because we never want to enter a community and say like, oh, this is what you need. So that's why we relied so much on the community partners, because we knew that they knew their community and we could just come in and do what we do best, which is distribute produce.
What I'm flashing on is it is a way of nurturing, fostering the village, the town square, the village. It's showing up differently. It's really powerful. It's really powerful. How can people get involved with Pitney Meadows? How can we support you in this mission, but also come and learn and be present on the land or be able to participate? So
we are open dawn to dusk, 7 days a week, and there's someone always doing something. So if you feel inspired, come onto the farm. Actually, a lot of great conversations and great community partnerships come from someone. I'm on my computer doing email, catching up on work, and someone stops and pokes their head in Bill's barn and says, hey, how's it going? And then next thing you know, they're attending our classes, they've got a community garden plot, and they're volunteering. So I think coming onto the farm and seeing what we offer and interacting with staff, but also we've got really great volunteer opportunities. We have community garden plots. We have a UPIC CSA, which is great. But if there's something that really speaks to an individual, just sign up to volunteer and let us know. Because we definitely, for the onboarding of volunteers, figure out what people's interests are and play to those strengths of whether it's helping with the trail maintenance and being a trail steward, or harvesting for food security, or helping pollinator habitat. we really offer a lot. So whatever people are willing to contribute, we're here and we'd love to collaborate.
I will make sure that the website has your organization's website listed on it so people can find you directly. And I'd love to hear what do you see coming in Pitney's future? I know there's more educational elements coming in. Where do you see the next year bringing you and beyond?
So we're really excited about this year. We've had a couple great new staff members, one being our education director. So really thinking about giving people some purpose at Pitney Meadows in the environment we're in. People are constantly asking, like, what do I do there? It's like, oh, you just come walk the trail, have a picnic, you can do whatever. But people are like, I want to do something. So having that education as kind of an introduction to Pitney Meadows and an unintimidating way to like get to know what we do, get to know the property. So we offer educational programs from all age ranges. And also, I think getting people onto the property and connecting with the land and learning about stewardship and thinking about small behavioral changes that can really help us address those like really big, weighty topics that are happening. You know, you hear about something in the news and you're like, you kind of feel helpless, but there's really simple things that you can do that can make you feel better about your situation by helping your community and being there for your community, and kind of like letting go of those big global problems like climate change. Like, how as an individual are we going to address climate change? Well, I mean, you can plant some pollinator habitat at Pitney Meadows and do what you can. So we're about, you know, connecting those really big global heavy issues.
Bringing it local, bringing it here and now, anchoring. It's a way to root.
Because you can't change the world, but you can improve,
Yeah,
you know, your community.
Yeah.
So
we are really glad you're here, Pitney Meadows. Really, it's extraordinary to watch your growth over the last 5 years, and excited for what your community-based work will continue to be. Just kudos and bravo.
It really takes a community to make that happen, though. Like, it takes a community to build community. So we're very thankful for our community partners and volunteers and our amazing board. You know, it's been a lot of hard work, but we definitely don't lack opportunity. So we're excited to see what is next for us.
I love your tag that Pitney Meadows Community Farm grows community and food organically. I think it's not paraphrased a little bit, but that idea that we're cultivating together. So Lynn, Trisna, executive director, out there in her boots, making it all happen. Thank you for taking time today to join us and be part of this ongoing conversation with our community. You know, and we are the ones we've been waiting for, and it shows up in lots of different ways. So grateful to get an update on you folks. Thank you. Keep up the good work, and thank you for feeding us.
Thank you for having us. We're happy to serve our community.
Beautiful. Thanks again. Hello. I am so glad that you could join us. We have Kenzie Hamlin and Luna McDermott, and perhaps Olivia Vendetti is going to drop in on us shortly. And these young women all serve on the board of Youth Squared. Thank you for taking some time to talk with us. Can you share what it is that Youth Squared does in our community for people who haven't heard about you yet?
So we organize pop-ups pretty much every month. There are some exceptions, like we did a benefit concert, but we collect different things for that we see a need for in the community. And we also give out grants if somebody comes up with like a public service project. We had one person who came in and wanted to build like a big compost bin for her camp. So we gave a grant for that, and just different things that we think there's a need for in the community.
That's really cool. And it's not just like, it's, I think, help us understand your demographic of who you're reaching into. Who are you giving grants to? I don't think it's you're giving grants to folks like me who come in and want to build a compost. You're really looking to educate and reach out to younger people in the community, right?
Well, yeah, you can go
sorry.
ahead, Luna.
Well, it's pretty much anyone. We usually have a lot of younger people coming in, but we're really open to everyone. I mean, we are an advisory board. We have youth and adults. So we really just want to help out our community. It doesn't really matter.
Well, you're also learning how and teaching people how to write grants and where they might go to get more funding so they can do more work in the community.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a special
And we-
niche here in Saratoga. That's a really cool thing you're doing.
Yeah, and pretty much anybody with an idea that we think we could use, we, support them. And I think we give up to like $200 grants, but a significant amount of money to things that we see a need for.
Very cool. How did each of you get interested in Youth Squared? How did you hear about them? And then how did you decide to step on as a board member? That's a pretty labor intensive thing.
Well, I actually heard about it through social media. One of the current board members, Andre, he posted, and he was just like, is anyone interested in joining? And I actually just swiped up and I was just like, can you tell me more about it? And so basically I just got on a Zoom with Beverly and we talked, and I thought it was just really cool and something that was just right up my alley basically. And I mean, I joined and I've had a lot of fun. It's been really, really cool and really interesting.
How long have you been with Youth Squared and where are you in school?
I would say I've been with them since about April of 2021, March, April. And I go to school at Emma Willard in Troy.
Yes, and my daughter attended Emma Willard. Kenzie,
Oh, nice.
how long have you been with, I think I've seen your name also on the board for a while.
I think like January to March-ish last year, my mom worked with Beverly and one of our current board members in the past, and she had been wanting to join for years, because he would post about it on Facebook and stuff. But during the pandemic, she was like, now we really should. So we got on a call with Beverly, and we have been for a couple months, and we've been with different types of pop-ups, and I think it's really cool to see the evolution of it in just a couple months.
Share with us some of the pop-ups that you've done this year. And I know it's probably, as you were saying, the evolution of it under this whole COVID and all the changes we're going through as a community, right? What kind of pop-up events have you done? Where have you done them? What's been?
I ran a tomato plant giveaway in May or I think it was early June, and Sunnyside Gardens donated pots, and so we got soil from a local business. And they gave us a very generous discount, and then we got plants. I can't remember the name, but And then we got 50 plants donated from Dean's Flowers and then 50 plants from this other place. And we went to the food kitchen or the food pantry in Saratoga. And then we also gave some to the Jefferson Terrace housing community.
Yeah.
And we did a Scott Cook concert in September and we raised quite a bit of money. I think it was like $1,000.
Wow.
And we donated like 500 of it to All Hands and Hearts, which is a national like relief program for natural disasters. So like with wildfires in Australia and stuff, they donate whatever they get to help other people.
That's a lot of reach. That's a lot of reach.
Yeah.
From right here in
Um,
Saratoga. Hi, Olivia. Thank you for jumping in.
Yeah, of course. I'm so sorry. A bunch of plans that I had were suddenly canceled and I had to scramble to redo a bunch of meetings. So,
Well, glad to have you here and acknowledging everybody's wickedly full schedules. Olivia, where are you in school and how long have you been on the Youth Squared board?
so I'm in ninth grade. I've been with the board for like 3 years now, I think.
Okay.
About 3 or yeah, about
So
3.
you've been with Youth Squared prior to these pop-up events, which kind of started about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago.
Oh yeah, since even pre-COVID, we've been doing lots of events like the pop-ups, which are, very community oriented and really more about outreach and trying to help fill certain niches in the community that need, special attention or that maybe aren't getting the recognition that they need. And so even prior to COVID, that was always a really important focus for us. And now that COVID has brought so many of those issues and those needs to light, I think we've been able to kind of address those issues more directly, just knowing how important they are in light of, this kind of overarching pandemic that has made so many things difficult and inaccessible. It's made us realize how important making sure everyone has everything that they need is. And I think that that's really important, um, especially just knowing that that's something that we as kids can do when you feel really powerless and helpless in life. You're so young, it's really difficult to feel like you have a voice and feel like you can make a difference. And also, being stuck at home and feeling like there are so many things out of your control, but helping people and providing people with support and care is something that we at U Squared have always strived to do. And it's something that we help everyone kind of do and fulfill that kind of passion of theirs.
Well said. There's a different sense of urgency,
Yeah.
I think, that we're all having. Luna, what has been one of the pop-ups that really made a difference to you or that really hooked your passion?
Well, I did join it like March or April. So I hosted a pop-up in July of 2021 and I did a sanitary hygiene pop-up and we donated about like, I think we bought $500 worth of products and then we were able to donate probably like maybe $1,000 worth of products to various charities. And it was really, really amazing because so many of the board members were able to allow us to opened our eyes to many different places which we could donate. For example, we donated to this shelter which women can go to when they get out of prison. It's kind of like a rehabilitation center, and they can get readjusted to the outside world. And it was just really amazing to go there and just to see and not just there, but all of the places we donated to, the people were just so, so grateful. And I really liked that pop-up because it was kind of like something that a lot of people don't think of is needed. But, as a woman, I know that those products are so expensive. And when it comes between that And for example, buying yourself food is a really hard decision, but those products should be accessible to everyone and shouldn't be a decision you have to make between
Mhm.
food and feeding your child or something like that. So it just really opened my eyes to that, like, poverty, and a lot of people can't afford that stuff. And I think it was just a really overall great experience. And I'm really looking forward to do another pop-up and come up with another creative idea.
I'm pretty amazed by the range of ideas that's coming out of your group and the outreach that you're doing. And with that, the education and illumination. And so much of what um, we see around us is or what feels like ignorance is that there hasn't been opportunities to be exposed to where the needs are and who's challenged and in what way. And what you're doing project by project and kid by kid is touching into those person by person, is touching into those human stories and bringing it out to us. Olivia, is there a project, one of the pop-ups that was particularly special to you?
I think that, I mean, I participated in a lot of them, but I would say that Luna's was probably my most,
Mhm.
one that was most impactful for me. Just seeing all of those people kind of get together, and especially people who came and told us, I don't know if you remember, Luna, but a bunch of people came and told us that they were so glad that this was happening and they had been trying to find ways to do something like this, and they were really glad that someone was kind of taking that action. And I think that it's always been really important to me. I mean, Luna definitely said it really well, but yeah.
Well, all three of you, thank you. The insights are really strong. I'm going to make sure on the website that we've got a link so people can find you of all ages to both support your work, but also to join you, because that's what you're doing is you are leading now, and your leadership is helping to raise the next group of leaders. What do you see happening? What's popping up for U Squared in the near future?
I know in February we are doing a blanket drive. I don't know if they've decided where they're going to be donated to, but it'll be called Bundles of Blankets. And then I know they have a lot of ideas lined up, like a vegetable or fresh produce collection, because somebody recently has like a fridge that's open for people who need food.
That's the free
Um,
fridge over at the Frederick Allen
yes,
Lodge. Really, really special
yes.
project.
And I know we have like this huge list of ideas and things to do. But I guess there's just not enough months in a year to do them all right now. So it's the patience in choosing which ones you like the most.
It's kind of interesting, isn't it? Having to prioritize and
Yeah.
weigh it with immediate needs and long-term needs and just how much you can get into a calendar year. Well, time is of the essence here. You guys all have to be other places. I so appreciate you joining us, and I look forward to hearing more about what Youth Squared is doing next. I'm assuming we can see what you're doing on your website, catch up on that. Full disclosure, Youth Squared is very near and dear to me. My son Eric served for 4 years. He's now in his late 20s. So been watching your group just evolve and just do deeper, more amazing things all the time. So thank you very much, Kenzie and Luna and Olivia, for taking time today with the MLK Saratoga. And be well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye. We'll see you again.
and we are so grateful for your viewing. Thank you. Hi, there was a little glitch there, but I just wanted to say that to stay tuned. We have a couple of more community conversations, and then we will have Julio again. But we wanted to thank our sponsors for this weekend, Skidmore College, and also Price Shopper Market 32. Thank you. We are so deeply grateful for you. We are so grateful to our community for embracing us always. MLK Saratoga, we are so grateful to our community. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Wanted also to let you know at 7 p.m. there will be a poetry slam sponsored by Create Studios, and performers will also be there that are from Saratoga BLM, and can't wait. So stay tuned. Thank you.
All right.
Well, hi, Carrie.
Hi, Leslie. How are you today?
I'm all right. Thank you so much for joining us for a little short conversation. This is Carrie Trimmings, and she is the founder, instigator, catalyst, and major engine of Saratoga Springs Snack Pack, which is an extraordinary program that is serving a range of our children in more than just Saratoga Springs, I believe. Is it beyond just?
We are just in Saratoga Springs, but I have been able to assist other school districts in getting programs similar to ours up and running over the last few years.
I'm going to see if I can't put us side by side. There we go. Hello to everyone. So you are getting things up and running with other areas.
Yes, we have been able to help other school districts over the last 8 years. We started 8 years ago, actually this month, with Snack Pack. And so over the last, many years, other school districts have heard about what we do and have asked, for some guidance on how to get started, where we get our funding, where we get our food, et cetera. And but Snack Pack specifically serves the students in Saratoga Springs School District in grades K through 12, all 8 buildings.
Wow. Share a little bit about what Snack Pack does, and then we'll backtrack because your origin story is really powerful. But I'd like to frame for our community what it is that you folks are doing.
Sure. So we are considered a program that focuses on children in our community who live with what's called food insecurity. And that term, I think, gets thrown around a lot, and I don't know if everyone knows what it means. So I will kind of, break it down and explain. So food insecurity is basically children or even adults who live in homes who may or may not have consistent food. So students, who have school food, breakfast and lunch provided to them at school Monday through Friday, may go home in the evenings or on the weekends and may have very little or no food. And so we started this program 8 years ago. A backpack program is not unique to us. There have certainly been many other backpack programs in our throughout our country. And so hearing about those other programs and kind of deciding is that something that would be needed in our community. And so what we do is, with the help of colleagues in all of the buildings, we provide weekly backpacks. We actually don't even send backpacks home anymore, but bags of food for children who may or may not have food over the weekends. And we pack every Thursday because the bags go home specifically for the weekends. So the bags go home every Friday. And the idea is that within each bag each week, there is a range of food items. I rotate the menu so that children are not always having the same food items. Much of the food does have to be non-perishable for obvious reasons. Unfortunately, I can't send home fresh produce or frozen items because the food sits in the school buildings from Thursday night through Friday afternoon. And then the children bring the bags home either on the bus or, if they're picked up. And then the idea is there are approximately 6 meals in each of those bags. And that will get the children through to when they come back to school on Monday morning. And when we started, we were, just not sure if there were really going to be a lot of kids within Saratoga Springs, because I think people do think of Saratoga Springs as the land of plenty, and we are. But certainly within every single community, there are students who, who are in need. And sometimes it's just a temporary situation where a family may lose employment, for whatever, millions of different reasons. And they just don't have enough to help, to feed their children. Sometimes, students are involved in this program, pretty much their whole school careers. And really the goal is to make sure that these kids certainly have enough food, but bigger picture, that when these kids are identified by our school district personnel, whether it's the classroom teacher, social worker, principals, any kind of school employee can recognize that there are children living with food insecurity, and then all of the ripple effects that happen when children don't have enough food. On a daily basis, we all need food, but longer term, when children are living in that kind of an environment, it can cause, anxiety, depression, mental illness, kids might not be coming to school. It can cause them to be lethargic in school because they can't focus. And then that also trickles down to them being successful in school. So that is what we do. And we are currently feeding right now this school year, approximately 230 children every single week. And
I would imagine people are surprised to hear that. 230 children.
I'm sure they are.
Yeah.
There are honestly probably more than that number. We do, just to backtrack a little bit, this program is not a program where parents can ask to be a part of. It really has to be determined from counselors, from interactions with the children in the school, that there is indeed a situation where the kids don't have enough food.
Yeah.
And the food is intended for children. Certainly, other members of the family, maybe, partaking, but the food that we choose, the food that I choose really is child friendly. And again, so adults can't ask for their kids to be a part of the program. It has to be that the students are really, identified as needing. And at the height of COVID, when we were completely shut down, there were some families who lost jobs, especially a lot of the service workers, restaurants, and other businesses that were very temporarily shut down. So during that time, for almost a year, we were actually helping about 280 kids. So yeah,
Filled a really, really important and unexpected gap. You were able to bridge. You were actually bringing bags directly to children's doors.
We were during that time. So we deliver we pack every Thursday. And so the world shut down. Our last day of school was Friday, March 13th. Every teacher will remember that day. And then the following Thursday, I had already placed our food order and we still packed. And we deliver in the summers anyways. So we already have an infrastructure of teachers from every building who come to St. Clement's, which is where we pack. And so we kind of just went into summer mode, and summer mode lasted for a year and a half. So, during that time, we were delivering directly to the children's homes. And it actually was interesting because it allowed us to also bring kids work from school. A lot of kids were either choosing to be virtual or temporarily virtual. So it became more than just a food delivery every week. It became kind of a check-in, checking to make sure the kids were doing okay. And then throughout this process, we also started providing toiletries, because as we all know, toiletries became scarce during that time for everyone. And, again, especially if you're choosing, where you can spend your money, sometimes those are luxury items. So we were able to, with some high school students actually, who had been helping Snack Pack for years, became aware that this might be an additional need, and they went into action, and they created their own little group called Toga Toiletries. And so they actually communicate. Parents can communicate with them what kind of toiletries are needed. These high school students pack the bags, and then they bring the bags to me every week, and then in turn, those bags, toiletry bags, are also brought home with the food items. And we all need toothpaste and toothbrushes and shampoo and sometimes diapers, even though our students our students are older than that. Sometimes there are little ones at home. So that is part of what the Toga Toiletries is helping as well, to help families as much as we possibly can.
You've become a really interesting barometer of what's happening in homes via our children. You have such an interesting lens, and you're also you're a music teacher, which is why we're hearing some music in the background.
Yeah, I always have, when I don't have students in front of me, I have my quiet, calm, my little fireplace is playing over on my smartboard, and so there's always music going on in Mrs. Trimmings' classroom. So, I mean, is that a good segue, Leslie, for me to talk about, how we started?
I would love to hear about that, because the piece that comes through is the humanization of these young people, right? And their own personal stories. And that's, I was framing it that you work with kids all day long. And this has been a totally different element that gives this different bridge into our youth community and the huge need that clearly
It
there is.
really does. And, as a music teacher, I'm at a huge building. I'm at Dorothy Nolan Elementary, and we have over 800 students, and I teach over 600 myself. And, and because of that, I really don't have that interaction every day with every student. So I don't personally see in my position as a music teacher, some of the more in-depth personalities and get to know kids as much as the classroom teachers do. But having said that, it was 10 years ago now. My husband and I, we have 3 biological children, and a friend of our oldest daughters started coming over to hang out to our house. They were in 8th grade at the time. And there were just some red flags that were kind of going up in my mind as a teacher and as a mom, of, how he was dressed, his extreme thinness, conversations that he would just mention about how he had moved, and then a few weeks later how he had moved again. And in that first 6-month period, he had moved 4 times. And so just again, those kind of red flags about, his home life were starting to, be waking me up a little bit as to there's something wrong here. And then through a few different situations that happened, he ended up coming to stay with us through that summer. And that summer living situation became his mom actually left town. And so at the time he was 15, and he is one of 6 children. And the other 5 siblings had been gradually either taken out of the home by family members or had voluntarily left, and they had gone back to California. So we're not just talking, right in the next county, we're talking across the country. And quite frankly, he stayed. I'm going to not use his name if that's okay, for his, for his confidentiality. But he stayed. He was in 7th, 8th grade at the time because he really thought his mom was going to change. And he has articulated a few times that he thought if he loved her enough that she would, that she would change and focus on him more, and not on the, unhealthy lifestyle that she was leading, that was leading them to not have, any kind of stability at all.
Yeah.
So he ended up moving in with our family. We went to court actually, and we became his legal guardians because we wanted to be able to advocate for him in school and for his medical needs, and all those things that you legally can't do unless you are some kind of legal guardian. So that was his 9th grade year, and he was very quiet about his past for a long time. He was just acclimating to a very, very different home. And I do have to say that year was the first year that he ever played a sport. He had never had that opportunity before. He played football, and then eventually he actually ended up doing track. He was placed in an amazing program that our high school had recently started before that, called the Spring Program, which is for at-risk students. And they have really amazing teachers, kind of like, the real coaches of each grade level, social studies, English, math, etc. And they really, really intensely helped these kids to be able to get from 1 week to the next, and then eventually from 1 year to the next. So for the first time, our son, and I call him my son, he had parents advocating for him. He had teachers who were, realizing that it wasn't just because he was being lazy. And he, about a year after he moved in, started telling us about truly some of his experiences, his childhood experiences, many of which were very, very traumatic. And the consistent theme, of their childhood was not having enough food, and not having a stable home, not knowing if in the middle of the night they were going to be asked to woken up and asked to leave their home. When he moved in with us, and I wish you could see, but he had a laundry basket this big and everything that he owned in the whole wide world would fit in that laundry basket. And that was the life that they led. They had to be able to pack up and move at a moment's notice. So, he had very few personal belongings, and, even pictures from his childhood, things that we all just take for granted. So anyways, he started telling us that, there wasn't food. And, when my kids go to the refrigerator and they say, Mom, there's nothing to eat, there's usually plenty to eat. It's either you have to make it or it's not what you necessarily want at the moment. And, we all say that all the time. Kids who live in food insecure homes actually go to the pantry and there's nothing there. And so that was a huge wake-up call. I grew up in Saratoga Springs. I'm born and raised here, went to Saratoga, all the schools here, and was blessed to be privileged enough to have food in my pantry and have opportunity to do things. And the thought that if there's one student, I wonder if there's more. So that was a huge, aha moment. And that motivated me to reach out to my church. I'm very involved as a musician at St. Clement's Church that has a very active food pantry. So using the resources and kind of guidance from the people who have been running that food pantry for many, many years, I asked about backpack programs, and they actually said that they had, kind of always wondered if there was a need, but they were so busy focusing on the adults. They didn't know how to, kind of branch into the school system. So I feel like, whatever higher power you believe in, but the higher power in, was putting all of these pieces into motion for this to happen. And so that January of 2014, we did a test here at Dorothy Nolan. I had in our faculty meeting, I presented, I said, okay, teachers, it is up to you to, notice the students who are in front of you. And do you think these are the criteria of what a chronically hungry child, physical characteristics, emotional, and attendance. And within that first month, we had about 45 kids at Dorothy Nolan alone. And then and I was shopping on my lunch. I was running to the grocery store on my lunch because I didn't know how to do any of this. So I was running to the grocery store on my lunch, filling up grocery carts.
And I imagine just presenting the teachers with that list, that checklist of how this might be reflected and showing up in a child in their classroom must have been an aha.
It's had a huge ripple effect again, that no one could have foreseen. So again, going back 8 years, at that time, we only had one social worker for our entire school district. And that social worker actually had to write a grant for her own salary.
With the whole district?
The whole district. There was no social workers in any of the buildings. So that, I couldn't just do this in my own little bubble of Dorothy Nolan. I certainly had the support of my administrators, but I had to put together, all of our, how we were going to do this. And I had to present it to the board. And it was Dr. Picarello at the time, who was extremely welcoming, from his own personal childhood of struggles with poverty that he was very open with our staff over the years. And I felt that he was the right person at that time to say, okay, can we try this? And our board, was very supportive. I do want to just say that, our school district does not pay for this program at all. There's not one penny that comes from the school district.
Is it all donated? Is all from donations?
So my husband and I, we went through the process. We had a lawyer friend who gave us his services for free to become a 501c3 charity, which, takes some time. So we went through that whole process to officially become that kind of an organization. But all the donations monetarily and food, are basically my husband and I, mom and pop, kind of reaching out into the community. He does all the grant writing. And then again, over time, me being invited to speak at all different kinds of, events such as this, even though we're not in person, this is the perfect kind of partnership that our community is so blessed to have. We have so many organizations, big and small, sometimes very small, like mom and pops, who are doing great things. And so being invited to speak at some different functions kind of also was that ripple effect. So I can say, going back to the social worker situation, pardon me, it became very, very clear through Snack Pack as well as through other things, and just the demographics of our community have been changing. It just happens in every community, but they really have been over the last 15, 20 years, the realization that we're not doing enough and that we don't have enough personnel to help families who are in crisis, whether it be a very, very temporary situation. I mean, I've had situations, my own husband lost his job, and that was terrifying. But when you live in the cycle of poverty, and the cycle of poverty is very, very real, it is very hard to break out of that cycle of poverty. And we were not doing enough in our school district. So I have to say, one of the most profound moments for me was when Rich asked if he could put together a kind of a slideshow of his life to help me to explain his life. And we put it together and we presented it at the Board of Education. And I also went and presented it to the middle school faculty. And he had only been there, like the year before. And I have to say, I mean, teachers were openly weeping. They were shocked. They were heartbroken. They were upset that they didn't realize that him and other students like him, the reason they are the way they are is not because they want to be lazy or they want to not come to school. When you're picked up and moved in the middle of the night and you don't even know where you are living, and you are a child, you can't get yourself to school. And all of the parts of that puzzle of families who are living in those kinds of traumatic situations, the children are the innocent victims. They really are. And so this became extremely personal for our family. And I think that's one of the things that really does resonate with people, is that this is not just some story from far away. Because we all, we know that there's poverty all around the world. And in this community, there was just not enough light shed on the fact that there's extreme poverty everywhere. And then there are kids who are coming to school who have not eaten since Friday afternoon at lunchtime. And we need to do better. And social workers are trained to be able to help with so many more things. So I'm helping to fill their bellies. But once we now have a social worker in every single building, and which is wow. And we have, and it's not just because of Snack Pack. I just want to say it's not just because, I mean, we were one of the catalysts, certainly to bring that awareness, but it was so many other factors coming together. And now we have counseling departments in all of our schools. And so I think for us, that moment that we presented his story to the middle school, it was, and ever since then, my mission is to feed them and for us to let these kids know that they're seen, that they're not ghost children. Because there are kids who behaviorally act out and they're very well known. And then there are the kids like my son who just quietly sit in the back of the classroom with their hood up and they're hungry and they don't know what kind of situation they're going to go home to. They don't know if they're going to have food when they get home, and they don't say anything. And
they're just persevering. It's all that they can do.
That's all. They're in survival mode. They're
totally.
And to be able to be in school and to know that they are seen, to know that they have other services that are now going to be provided to them, that they can get, recommendations for therapies and medical care and other kinds of financial support. It really has changed lives. And I can say, statistically, I would have to double check, but I am pretty sure that we have not had one student who has been referred to snack pack program drop out of school. Not one. Not one. And that is certainly
Extraordinary.
that is certainly, one of the challenges, when they become 16 and 17 and they feel that their life is hopeless and they feel that school is not a place that they are finding success. Why go?
Right.
Why go?
Right. So you're actually, it's creating school also as a welcoming place for them. And,
As a-
and
yes.
it's, and it's a metric, it's a real metric. We're talking about very real children, human beings. And here's a metric that you can see them succeeding, getting through school and all. And that's extraordinary. And
it's not even just succeeding academically, it's just the emotional support. And I personally am the one that I deliver in my building. So for me, every single Friday, to be able to get the hugs that I get, the thank yous that I get, and little ones, they're so innocent, and they thankfully haven't gotten to the point of embarrassment yet. Which is something that we struggle with in middle school and high school. We have many students who've been identified who will not bring bags
want to
home.
participate.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
But in the elementary buildings, Mrs. Trimmings, thanks for my food, down the hall, and that is, that's
joy unleashed. It's joy unleashed and trust building. And you're starting early enough with those little ones, it's an exceptional reflection of the foundation of survival, right? When we meet survival, people can thrive and can open their wings. And it's an extraordinary story. I got to hear you last year. You and I both spoke with Youth Squared, another exceptional local organization that's empowering and lifting our young people to lift other young people. And I just was left speechless, Carrie. I just was extraordinarily moved by your willingness to lean in and take action where you saw a need. And also knowing that you did it on your own personal level, and now you were rippling it out into the community. And these are the stories that we need to know are happening here and now, and that we all can build on.
They are, absolutely.
Yeah. My goodness, I just...
Thank you. It's my mission, until my last breath, I'm going to be the lady who feeds. So
you are the lady who's bringing both food and music and hugs and tying in the whole communities, the schools and St. Clement's and so many others. I will make sure on the website that we have a link to your organization. I'm sure people can go there to find out how to volunteer and donate. Is there anything you'd like the community to know about how they can support you?
Just, that there are so many worthy organizations in our community. And I think one of the confusions has been for a very long time is, you see that we're a school district program, and there is that assumption that we're funded by the school district, and we're not. We operate within the school district, but we're our own little, separate entity, and that we are always in need. We're always in need. We, spend a lot of, the cost of food has gone up for all of us, and the cost of food at the food bank, has also exponentially gone up. So it's just, we're feeding a lot of kids, and I never say no. I get phone calls sometimes on a Thursday morning, I know you're packing this afternoon, but there's a family in crisis. A family has become homeless. A family's moving into our district that's in crisis. And I never say no, and I never will say no. But the money has to come from somewhere, and food donations are welcome. However, I do choose specific child-friendly food. And sometimes when people see food donations are welcome, they go and they empty their pantry. And sometimes that's actually more work for us than it is help, because a lot of that food ends up not being something that we can use.
The funding, the donation of funds actually becomes your fuel that lets the wheels turn, because you have very specific wheels in place to make all this happen. It's good to note, and we're gonna all be your mouthpiece.
Thank you.
And look forward to hearing more about Snack Pack and and their superhero.
Thank you.
Carrie Trimmings
Thank
out
you,
there.
Leslie.
Be well. Happy New Year. Stay
Happy
well
New
to
Year to
everyone.
you too. And have a wonderful weekend of
Thank you.
celebration.
Thank you so much. To be
Thank you.
continued. Bye.
Bye.